Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, guest Nick Clarke, former professional soccer player, stroke survivor, and founder of Stroke Information UK, shares the importance of fellow stroke survivors supporting each other in the recovery process. His story is entitled, "We Care Because We've Been There." Thank you for joining us for part 2, Nick Clarke's interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today's guest is Nick Clarke, a former professional soccer, or as they say in the UK, football player. He's a stroke survivor and founder of Stroke Information UK. Today's theme is the motto of Stroke Information UK: "We care because we've been there." You were a professional soccer player, football player, a healthy young man, and then you had your stroke. How old were you when you had the stroke?
Do we have to talk about that? I was 42.
42. And tell me, what were some of your first thoughts when you woke in the hospital, once you were able to understand what was happening?
Without doubt, the first thing that come into mind was, why has it happened? Why has it happened to me, of all people? What have I done to deserve it? I was just, again, sort of focusing on, because I was just being groggy, and I saw men in white coats and women too, just basically taking blood and monitoring my own blood pressure. And then family members would come and visit me, but to be honest, all I wanted to do was sleep. I was just exhausted.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And sometimes there's too much going on within our bodies and around our space, and our minds can't quite comprehend what's going on. So it's hard to know what our thoughts necessarily are in those moments. Can you think of a time that you first had some glimmers of hope for your own future? Because a lot of times when everything falls and everything stops and we realize that our bodies aren't doing what we're telling them to do, then we start thinking about our future and our minds start swirling. If I can't do this, then I can't do that, and I can't do that. Tell me, when were you able to first settle and think, oh no, I'm going to be able to do something with my life?
The real sort of light bulb moment was when my consultant, who I referred to as God, because he's just unbelievably saved my life at the end of the day. I'd undertaken various scans, brain scans, body scans, and my balance wasn't brilliant. He sort of, well, basically my balance was way off the scale. So he discovered that through looking at the scans, he discovered that there was fluid on my spine, which left untreated would mean I'd be paralysed. So he performed what's called a lumbar punch, and he drained the fluid away from my spine. I could then walk once that's been done. I could walk with the aid of another person, or a walking frame or whatever. But I didn't really understand the magnitude of fatigue when the tiredness is what everyone normal would call tiredness. But with stroke, it's fatigue. And when that really kicked in, the menial of tasks, a little bit of exercise, it completely wiped you out. And so much so that sometimes you had to, literally zone out for a few days.
So those first couple steps, then you would sit down and zone out. And were you able to sleep then? When you say that you needed a couple days to recover, did you actually sleep after that?
All I did was sleep, really. Because, again, I've since learned that while you're sleeping, the brain, marvelous tool, computer that is rebuilding itself. It's re-emerging those sort of neurons and nerves to make it better, make you do things maybe not necessarily a better way, but a different way. And you learn to cope. You just learn to cope.
Absolutely. It's like a whole workshop in our brain that's going on when we're sleeping. The brain is figuring out ways to rewire itself.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer of that, and it does rewire itself. It just, it might, we in society are all impatient so-and-sos, and we all want it like now. We want to get it back as it was. But sometimes it takes that a little bit longer, and if so, if that's the answer, then so be it. Just got to give it that time.
Absolutely. I think of people being impatient with the internet, and then the phrase when people say, "Hey, give it a second, it's going up to outer space and coming back." Yeah. I think about that with our brains, right? Hey, give it a second. Do you know what it's doing? It's healing us.
Yeah.
It takes time. And sometimes there are glitches, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, whatever it is. But it'll take time and we'll get there.
Yeah, it is. And it's the way I use as an analogy is it's like we've got a massive computer up there. And in a situation where a stroke strikes, hang on a minute, we've just been hit with a virus. Or malware or whatever, that we've just got to get it refocused so that we can combat against that malware or whatever it is, that virus. And we just got to give it time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned neuroplasticity in your talk. Yeah. Can you tell me, you work with a lot of stroke survivors. Can you tell me one example of neuroplasticity, someone that you've met recently?
I think that the biggest thing that comes out of it is never giving up. If I'm being completely honest, there's things where we are impatient. We want to do things. We want to do it like yesterday, and the one thing that I've sort of learned to try and tell people or explain to people is there's a very, very important word that's part of our vocabulary, and that is yet. I cannot do it yet, but it's not a question. I can never do it. I can't do it yet. So give it time that, if you keep on, it's like everything else, whether it be a maths exam, a music exam or whatever, if you practice and practice and practice and practice, you will get there in the end. And with sort of neuroplasticity, it's just having that. I mean, prime example, there's a guy that we're helping that's 30, 33.
Wow.
This time last year, well, April time last in 2022, he was told he would never walk again. And he reached out to via the internet and found out that we were a registered charity. We sort of thrive on this kind of thing, and we gave him the support emotionally and mentally, not necessarily physically because that was down to him, but we gave him hints and tips of what he can do. And well, 12 months later, he's now awaiting a new vehicle. He's going to drive. He's going to be able to drive and take his daughter out to various places. And I even had a chat with him on Monday and said, you know what, Dan, you've got to really think about how far you come in such a short period of time. Now, all right, you look at me, I'm 10, nearly 11 years in past my stroke, and I'm still achieving things. So you never give up. And, you know, I mean, I was trying to sort of emphasize to Dan that no matter what is against you, you'll find a way. You know, just don't give up.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, you told me earlier today before we started. You told me that you went to a meeting with a survivor to an HR meeting. You find so many ways to support your community and reach out. And I love that you talked about that in the talk, because you've met so many people that have very different stories, but also there are similarities, and you're able to walk with them through that. So it's a beautiful thing. Will you tell me, one of our meetings, you told me about the 3 A's.
Yeah. You want me to tell you again?
Sure do. We're recording. I want everyone to know about the 3 A's.
I firmly believe that the 3 A's, the 3 amigos, the 3 A's plays a major part in the rehabilitation, the recovery. Yes, you've got to have awareness of the condition. You make people aware that, you know, a stroke's not a nice thing to do. You have got to acknowledge that it's happened. So that's awareness and acknowledgement, because, you know, you're always going to go, why me? Or, you know, why has this happened? You're much better off, as I see it, saying, well, do you know what? Hey, it's happened, so I've got to get on with it. And the last A is acceptance. Once you've accepted and acknowledged the thing that's happened, then I really believe you can move on and get on with trying to sort of. I'm going to throw a curveball, as you say over there in the States, in and put a 4A in.
Oh, we're really getting wild today.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit off the scale. The 4th A is activate, because you activate your recovery. I'm sorry about that, Molly. I just off the cuff, you know.
Tell me, activate. What do you mean?
Well, you activate your recovery. You raise the awareness. You acknowledge that it's happened. You accept that it's happened, and effectively, you then activate how you're going to get around that, whatever issue you've got, whether it be cognitive issues, whether it be emotional issues. You can activate a plan of action, if you like, to target it.
Absolutely. That can be used on so many different scales. It can be used on starting to use your hand. It can be used on starting something like Stroke Information UK. You know, there's so many ways that you can take the 4 A's. Thank you, Nick. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. What characteristics of pre-stroke Nick are still thriving as post-stroke Nick?
Well, undoubtedly my charm. my incredible good looks, fabulous personality, generous humankind being that I am. No, I think seriously, and it is tongue in cheek a little bit. There's got to be a sense of humour, and thankfully that I've maintained my sense of humour. And if one thing's to come out of this is, yeah, it's a negative situation, but I've turned it into a positive thing. Don't focus on the negatives of what you can't do. Focus on what you can do, and give yourself like small goals on what you can achieve. I mean, we've all heard of like the SMART objectives, right? Where it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. Just do yourself little tasks, little goals, Don't set yourself. Don't set the bar so high that you're never going to get there. Just set it so you've got a little stepping stone, and it's like childhood, baby steps, baby steps. And once you've taken those baby steps, then you can have your bigger strides, and you can start to walk or even run. But not me. I couldn't even run a bath.
There's a children's book that I used to read when I was little. It's entitled One Foot Now the Other. And it's about a grandpa teaching his grandson to walk. And then when the grandpa has a stroke, the grandson's teaching the grandpa to walk. And my grandpa had a stroke, I think 5 years after I had my stroke. So he helped me learn to walk again when I was 21. And then when he had his stroke, I would try to help him walk as well. Yeah. But you're right. Every single step, and even the parts that aren't steps, I remember looking down at my foot and my foot wasn't moving, but maybe my little toe was moving. I'm like, okay, some message is getting down there. And little by little, oh, both toes are moving, or, oh, it's a little shuffle. And it's so frustrating, but also you're right. Taking the humor that you had pre-stroke, Nick, and after, there are some things that we just have to be able to let go and think, okay, this might be funny if I look at it in a certain way. Just to relieve the stress.
Yeah, it's funny because when you mentioned before about the fact of name a song that really sort of inspired you to, I picked the David Guetta Titanium, and there was another one that has just sprung to mind with what you've been talking about. And a couple of years ago, there's a song that came out, and it was called, I don't know who it was by, but it's called Everybody Shuffling. And that was me once I'd had a stroke and then started to try and walk again. I'd shuffle, like literally just weave and wobble. And it's but it's, again, you look at it and you think, oh, yeah, I did used to shuffle. And, you can always use that song another time.
Right. Absolutely. I remember that song. I don't know. We'll have to look that up at some point. There was a time that I was right after the stroke, I moved in with my sister, and my mom moved in too to help. And there was a time that I was standing in between the door frames of a sliding door, and I was trying to take a step, but I couldn't take a step, and I began to wobble. And I was stuck between the two door frames, like tick tock, and my sister and my mom were sitting in front of me, and I had eye contact with them, and my shoulders were bouncing from one side of the door frame to the other, but I wasn't able to step, and we just all started laughing. And I was thankful to have that moment, but we're not always in that mood. right?
No,
So sometimes it's not funny. But I was thankful that in that moment I could laugh at the bouncing between. And of course, my sister got up and, helped wobble me forward so that I didn't have so many bruises from the blood thinners. Anyways, so Nick, tell us a little bit about Stroke Information UK before we sign off here.
Well, again, it goes back to the sort of catchphrase or hashtag, if you like. We care because we've been there. We know exactly, all right, maybe not exactly, but we've got a very, very good idea of what that person's going through, what they're feeling, what their sort of boundaries are. And, we can effectively use our experience of what we went through and say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? I mean, I'll give you another classic example is that when my stroke first happened, I lost my whole right side. And the best I could move my arm was to my sort of waist. And I remember saying to mum and dad and a few other family members, if that's as a result of my stroke, so be it, at least I'm still here. But somebody mentioned the fact about having Botox or trying Botox. And I was like, you cheeky sausage, because I'm not that ugly. I don't need Botox for that. And they explain that actually it's like a muscle relaxant. So I went and spoke to my GP about it, and she said, yeah, we can try it. It might not work, but we can certainly try it. And I had the injection in my shoulder there. Obviously, the needle was that big. For those of you watching, the needle was that long.
How long? They're on radio, so how long? Like 2 feet? Is that 2 feet or 3 feet? Like a meter?
Well, we're talking in meters. So we're talking, yeah. It was at least 3 meters long, this needle. And it wasn't clear. It certainly felt that way. And the needle went in my arm. It was painful as hell. It really was painful.
Oh.
But within 24 to 36 hours, I had full movement in my arm again. And it was just like, wow. So in one thing, it's sort of cements the fact about not giving up. And that's what we try and get across with Stroke Information. It's just like we talk about our own experiences and what worked for us and what worked for other people that we've come across. Mm-hmm. And, it's the tips and advice that really sort of makes it. The fact that you're not talking to a stranger and somebody who doesn't know. We've lived it, so we understand. And it is even today with the meeting with HR, you've got a sort of kind of, I had to go along with an open mind and try and understand where they were coming from an organisation's point of view, but also where the employee was coming from, because he felt as though he had been let down by them because they don't really understand strokes. And this is what my point goes back to the education side of things. I want to try and get in the schools, colleges, universities to explain to them what it's like, because let's face it, a stroke can happen to anyone. So if you were put in that position where a stroke happened to you or a member of your family, you'd be better prepared if you had some sort of tactics to sort of counteract what's happened to you. Sometimes it might not work, but if you've got an idea of what does work, then it will certainly help you a long way. And that's what I try and get across within the charity. And so far, we also employ stroke survivors, which is something that's quite unique in respect that it sort of cements the fact of Just because they've had the stroke, we're not writing them off. We're giving them a chance, a second chance, because we believe they've got a purpose in life. They've got a use, and that's, as you'll know, very important, because when a stroke happens, you effectively feel worthless. You feel as though I'm not used to anyone. And what I'm sort of trying to get across with the charities is that you've still got a use. Of course, you've still got a use. You might not be able to do things the same way as others, but you'll find, again, I'm with you, put my arm around you, and we'll find a way.
I love that. I love that image. So how can we find you? How can we join?
Well, we listen, we welcome anyone that wants to know a little bit more about stroke information. We welcome anyone to join our WhatsApp group. Obviously, because of the time differences, I would suggest you mute them if you were to join our WhatsApp group and read them at your leisure. And even if it's a question of where you just observe and read what's going on, you might find it helpful. You just might find some tips that works for you that you can then share with somebody else that you come across that has been through a similar thing, and you say, well, I actually know this guy in the UK, and this worked for him. So how about you try that and let me know how it goes?
Absolutely.
And that's what I try and encourage with everyone in the charity, because this story, although this is today, it's not just my story. It's all of us, because we've all been through. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of yours, but mine was a bleed. I had a bleed, and I was lucky to be, in respect that my consultant stemmed that bleed through medication, etc. But I know others are not so lucky, and I know others are less abled, if you like, disadvantaged of what it's been, what it's left them like. But again, in other sort of circumstances, that person would be written off and not be given a chance. And I'm like, sod that. We're going to give you a chance. But it's like the Dear John letters when applying for a job. You apply for a job and you get a Dear John, thanks for your application. I'm sorry, you don't meet the criteria and we've had to look elsewhere. What we're turning around and saying, well, okay, shoot, we'll give you a chance.
I love it. So if people were to download the app WhatsApp, what's the number that they would type in order to connect with you? Or how do they connect? Or is there a website?
Go. The best way is to reach out to strokeinformation.co.uk, which is all the W's .strokeinformation.co.uk, and then ping me a message. Let me have your cell phone number, and providing you got WhatsApp, I can get you added to the group. But I really would strongly advise that you put yourself on mute notifications, because when we get on a subject that's quite passionate, whether it be, I don't know, football or soccer, as you call it, we've got supporters from all different parts of the UK. We've actually got people from Beirut as well that have, and I also joined a group in India that had over, 3,500 members. But I kind of learned from that I couldn't cope with 3,500 messages, ping, 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 every 5 minutes. So I muted the group, and I said to the creator of the group, unless it's actually directed at me, as in when you use WhatsApp, if you put the @ and the name of the person you want to reach out to, they'll just get a normal notification. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So again, that's www.strokeinformation.co.uk, and they can find information about Stroke Information, which is your community, your organization, and on there they'll find information about the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Nick, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Thank you for offering your reflections, your experience, your individual story, but how your story has become a blessing to many people. It's truly an inspiration for me and for all of us. It sounds like the community is very widespread, and other people are able to step up and find purpose in sharing their stories and offering their support to one another. So we'll close with a moment here, holding space for Nick and his work with stroke information in the community in the UK and abroad. We also hold space within ourselves, honoring ways that our story can inspire others, opening our hearts to other people, allowing them to support us in ways we may need, welcoming them as inspirations for our journey as well. And today we give thanks and ask for courage along the way. Again, Nick, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 2, Nick Clarke's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Nick Clarke's story, on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this episode of Beyond Stillness, guest Nick Clarke, former professional soccer player, stroke survivor, and founder of Stroke Information UK, shared the importance of fellow stroke survivors supporting each other in the recovery process. His story is entitled, "We Care Because We've Been There." If you enjoyed this moment of pause for storytelling and reflection, please like, share, or subscribe to the Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke podcast. Again, thanks for listening. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. I'm your host, Molly Bucola.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.